It is the 28th of November 2019, and News Tonight is here to let you know what's making headlines. And of course, in a little bit, let's say in about 20 to 22 minutes, we will be having our guest corner where we will engage one of the UNAIDS country director, Kirago Karusa, to exhaust records of success and as well records of challenges in the UNAIDS 2019 report. My name is Patricia Lukuma, and Mogalu Mohammed will be joining us on sign language. First though, the headlines. In our top stories tonight, President Museveni commissions security CCTV cameras command center at Naguru Police Headquarters. And on the international scene, 8 killed in fresh waves of protests in Iraq. And in sports, UCU teams take lead in football playoff finals. News Tonight begins. The President of the Republic of Uganda, President General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has challenged police officers to embrace patriotism and dedication towards fighting lawlessness. In doing so, Museveni wants immediate filling of the existing gap between police and the public for effective operation against crime. He echoed this while commissioning the newly constructed CCTV camera command center at Uganda Police Headquarters in Naguru.
You can have technology, but if you don't have dedication and patriotism, you will not achieve. Yes, it's better than nothing, but it is much better if you have technology, but you also have dedication and patriotism, especially patriotism. Patriotism means loving your country. And loving your country means loving the country and the people. This is where we in the NRA were able to do a lot. We in the NRA, the army of the Bush Army. We looked at all Ugandans as our family. Because that word patriotism means fatherland, loving the fatherland. If Uganda is the fatherland, it means all the Ugandans are our family members. If you have got this in your head, you cannot neglect your duty.
Now, President Yoweri Museveni has assured the French business community of abundant investment opportunities in Uganda. The president was meeting a French business delegation led by the chairman of the Confederation of French Companies, Mr. Momar Nguer, who called on him on Wednesday, 26 November 2019 at State House in Entebbe. The delegation that was accompanied by the French ambassador to Uganda, Mr. Gilles Amande, focuses mainly on promotion of investing in Africa. President Museveni proposed to the delegation that one of the investment groups should establish a technical institute in Uganda to provide skills that are vital in the country's economic growth. He assured his guests that the NRM government is targeting drastic reduction in the cost of transport through the provision of water and rail transport facilities. He also assured the delegation of the government commitment to ensuring cheap and reliable electricity supply, along with cheap money to facilitate further development of the manufacturing and agricultural sectors, among others. Mr. Museveni suggested to the delegation to look into the area of potential of refining industrial sugar within Uganda, noting that the move would drastically reduce the cost of consumer products such as soft drinks, as the country currently relies on imported industrial sugar. President Museveni used the meeting to ask the French delegation to report to him anyone who solicits for bribes from investors. His guest, Ngwar leader of the delegation, said they are keen in the tapping into of the business opportunities within the country. They expressed interest in providing fiber optic cables to every home so as to further improve internet connections. Now, still with the presidential press unit there, and of course crossing over to the First Lady's press unit, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has expressed desire to increase support to Uganda's education sector. This was revealed in a meeting between the First Lady, also Minister of Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Museveni, and the delegation from Saudi Arabia that was at State House in Nakasero. Mrs. Museveni thanked the Saudi government for funding projects that have enabled expansion of technical and vocational education and training. She called for a project targeting capacity building for quality improvement of both in-service and pre-service technical and vocational education instructors. Other areas of potential cooperation, she said, could be in teacher education for quality improvement, plus infrastructure and staff development for some new universities. The Saudi Arabia officials, led by His Excellency Ambassador Hatem Abdulaziz Odares, highlighted the desired areas of cooperation that include, among others, scientific and educational relations that include between education institutions, exchange of expertise between education institutions, universities, and scientific research centers, encouraging organizations of scientific cultural weeks and days and scientific clubs in education institutions in both these countries. They say the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is working to increase the number of scholarships offered to Uganda students to study in Saudi universities in all disciplines apart from the health sciences.
First of all, and I thank the association. Thank you for your warm welcoming here. And this is the place where you all need.
Now, our very own president in Ethiopia, President Yoweri Museveni, has emphasized the need for a united Uganda in particular and Africa in general to achieve prosperity of the people within the region. The president was speaking during a meeting with the visiting Ethiopian public diplomacy team led by the Speaker of the House of People's Representative, Honorable Tagese Chafo, who called on him today at State House, Nakasero. The 60-man delegation that includes the business community, diplomats, and cultural leaders is on a 5-day visit. President Museveni told the Ethiopian delegation that the reason Uganda was able to recover from the past turmoil stemmed from the NRM government's emphasis on interests for prosperity as opposed to identity of tribe and religion, which he noted does not benefit the people of Uganda. Mr. Museveni informed his guests that the NRM government has been able to address most of the past mistakes and is now tackling infrastructure challenges such as railway and roads with a view of providing cheap means of transport for businesses in the country. He warmly welcomed the visiting team to Uganda, adding that what is needed in the region is trade relations. He stressed that the Horn of Africa needs unity and togetherness for the benefit of the whole of Africa. over to Parliament. A select task force of the Parliament's Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises has handed 2 people to the police CID for further interrogation on how they acquired contested properties belonging to the departed Asians in Mbale region. Let's hear more in this report.
Select Task Force of the Parliament's Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises COSASE continues its probe into the illegal acquisition, possession and sale of properties belonging to the departed Asians in different parts of the country. Thursday, the Commission handed 2 people to police CID for further interrogation over how they acquired the contested properties.
Affirm that the evidence I shall give touching the matter before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Among those handed over to the police detectives is Counsel Dagira Suza, who was appointed to become an agent of the departed Asian Property Custodians Board in Mbale region. Dagira was responsible for properties in areas like Majanji, Busia, Bududa, Mbale, Budaka, Kibuku, and Palisa.
Were you still an agent of the custodian board, yes or no?
Okay, let me say I was, because it was an open letter. It didn't say you are going to act for this period.
May the record come.
In his submission to the committee under oath, Counsel Dagira, who took over as an agent in 1994 from a one Tito Opendi, said his role was to collect rent on behalf of the board and would be paid 10% of the total monthly collections.
And there were other people who would also come and instruct me.
Dagira, who could not trace his appointment letter and his roles as per the appointment, was later handed over to the CID for further interrogation. Also handed over to the CID was Mr. Wabia John, who told the committee that he had just returned from South Sudan and did not have any documentation pertaining to his acquired properties he allegedly bought from the custodian board. The task force continues Friday, scrutinizing ownership of more than 600 departed Asians' properties in Mbale. Bernard Higa, Parliament.
As Bernard Iga ends the first segment, our next segment will be a guest corner where we will be engaging about the UNAIDS report of 2019, and we will be having the UNAIDS country director in the house to discuss some of the challenges and some of the successes in this particular report. My name is Patricia Lokoma. Stay tuned. We will be back with the guest corner.
Enjoy instant international money transfers without borders on Airtel Money Today. Receive money today from East Africa, South Africa, Europe, Middle East, and America directly to your phone. To receive money on Airtel, the sender from these countries can visit their preferred money agent, mobile app, or website and directly remit it to a selected Airtel Money number. Receiving money is free of charge. You can also send money from Uganda to friends and family in Rwanda, Tanzania, and Malawi. Dial *185*1#. Select international transfer to get started.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Did you know that 1,000 Ugandans get HIV every week? Did you know that each week 500 people die of AIDS in Uganda? HIV is still with us. In 2017, President Museveni launched the Fast Track initiative to end AIDS in Uganda by 2030. We must stop HIV. The best way for young people to avoid HIV is to abstain from sex.
Why you even had to have sex at 16, at 18, at 20, and then you die, or you start having problems, which you may live with all your life? Why don't you wait, hold on, you study, finish your degree, and then you look for a partner at the right time?
Protect yourself. Abstain from sex until you are ready.
Kickstart Start your holiday in style and be part of the grand family party organized by your very own Eseza Mtokana, a known children entertainer and mother. It will be fun, it will be exciting, it will be memorable with lots of prizes to be won. It's going to be the best of the children's end of year party on the 1st of December 2019 in the UBC Gardens, hosted by Eseza Mtokana. Lots of entertainment, including live performances from Uganda's finest, Fresh Kid, Pastor Wilson Bugembe, Kapiripiti.
Yagoba tegezange naku z'omwezi nga lumu December tugenda beera ku UBC Gardens abato mujje tugalewo omwaka.
Ghetto Kids.
We are the Judas Ghetto Kids.
Yes, on the 1st December tugenda beera ku UBC end of year party.
Yeah.
Let's all be there. You know how we do it.
All the
we
kids come have a good time.
Let's have a good time. You know how we do it.
How we do
Straight up from the.
You know what I'm talking about. You know.
Wembley, Yo-Yo, Uganda's best dance group, gets open at 7 a.m. Entrance 10K only and parents free. Come unwind, eat, dance, sing, enjoy the bouncing castle, motor rides, camel rides, ice cream, quiz, swimming, sack races, tug of war, face painting, nyama choma and candle floss. This party is organized by UBC, Inspiring Uganda. Send money from Airtel to Airtel at 60% discounted rates. Yes, you can now send money for as low as 100 shillings and a maximum of 1,000 shillings. And that's not all. You can now withdraw up to 7 million shillings from your nearest Airtel money agent for as low as 12,500 shillings. Remember, depositing money is free, buying airtime through Airtel Money is free, Airtel Money and PIN registration is free. Do not pay any transaction charges directly to the agent, and never share your PIN number with anyone. Enjoy the lowest rates on sending and withdrawing money on Airtel Money today. Airtel Money, simple, instant, secure. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Electoral Commission informs the general public of the Voters Register update starting on the 21st of November to 11th December 2019. This will be a self-reporting exercise to provide personal details. A person who is already registered as a voter in Uganda must not register again. A voter who wishes to transfer to a new voting location must present confirmation that he or she is now a resident of the parish of that new voting location. The exercise will enable registered voters to confirm accuracy of their particulars on the register and correct any errors identified on the National Voters Register. The details of eligible learners registered under the Learners Project in 2017 who have attained the age of 18 will be updated. Such learners should present themselves at the registration or update center with their national identification number. The Commission has appointed Wednesday, 11th December 2019 as the cutoff date for registration of voters in Uganda. Announced by the Chairperson, Electoral Commission.
Welcome to our guest corner. It is 18 minutes past 8 o'clock, and like I introduced it in our news bulletin, that we will be having a guest corner where we will be delving a little bit into the Global UNAIDS report of 2019. And we all know that HIV/AIDS has been with us since 1981. So if we were to count down, we're about 40 years in this epidemic. And of course, some of the records have been of success, but we cannot ignore the challenges that remain. In our studio, I'm joined by Karusa Kirago. She is none other than the UNAIDS country director, and she's here to break down the report to help us review the regional statistics, or better still, bring it down a little bit closer to Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Now, just in a little bit of breakdown, give us the breakdown of the global report, the UNAIDS global report of 2019.
Okay, thank you very much. We released the UNAIDS global report yesterday. It was released in Kenya We normally release the report in different parts of the world. This time around it was in Nairobi. And basically what it showed is that there's about 38 million people living with HIV in the world. Of which about 80% now are on treatment, which is a very good thing. But it also shows that not all of them are virally suppressed, which basically means that the treatment is not yet successful for them because they can still be infectious. So what we are urging in looking at those results is to say that even though more and more people are on treatment, the level of adherence is not high enough to reduce the virus to a level that is undetectable. And so they are still infectious, and also it's not yet working so well in their bodies. So we continue to encourage that.
Okay, can we break that down a little bit into region? Because you're talking about 30 million people, that is globally. So if we talk about statistics to do with the region, within the region, the East African region per se.
Right. In the region, we probably have something like about 5 million.
5 million.
Uganda has 1.4 million people living with HIV. Tanzania and Kenya have about the same number, about 1.6 million.
Okay.
So just roughly adding it up is just about 1 million. The country with the highest number of people living with HIV is South Africa.
Okay.
South Africa has almost 8 million people.
And what could be the problem?
Well, there's a variety of reasons as to why that is the case, and I think maybe some of it has to do with perhaps the rates of male circumcision. As you know, male circumcision is a very effective way of dealing with HIV or reducing infection because it reduces transmission to men by 60%.
Okay.
And by so doing, then it reduces transmission subsequently to women. So it's almost like a vaccine that is 60% effective. But it has to be done the correct way because not all forms of male circumcision are the correct way. So South Africa, that could be one of the reasons. I think some of the other reasons might have to do with the kind of virus that is in South Africa. It's thought that it's a more virulent strain, for example, than the one that might be in places like Europe.
Like Europe, okay.
Yeah, so there are different reasons, and also rates of gender-based violence that always complicate HIV are thought to be higher in certain countries, for example, in South Africa.
So this report that was released yesterday, is it an annual report? Do we usually have this report on an annual basis?
That's correct. We release a report at the end of every year, and this is ahead of the commemoration of World AIDS Day on December 1st. So yes, it's an annual report.
And a sneak peek, a little bit of sneak peek into the report. We understand that the reduction in Uganda has really been drastic. But when you say 1.4, how worse was it?
Well, 1.4 million people in Uganda are living with HIV, and that number will increase. It will continue to increase because more people are surviving. So it's increasing because there's treatment, and so in the past, people used to die. Now people are surviving, and so that number will increase. But that number will also increase because we've still got a significant number of new infections coming in. Even though the number of new infections coming in has gone down, it is still 1,000 a week. And that is still substantive.
On average,
1,000 a week. 1,000 a week. 1,000 Ugandans get infected
on a daily basis,
weekly basis, on a weekly basis, and 500 die on a weekly basis.
So what could be the challenge? What aren't we doing right?
Well, we think, again, as I said, the rates of the numbers have gone down since, for example, 2010, but they are still very high, you'll agree. I think one of the challenges is there's not been a very consistent messaging about HIV prevention. There's been a lot of strong messages around treatment, but what we are finding and what we are believing is that there's not been very strong messaging regarding prevention. We also think, for example, programs for adolescents and young people, both males and females, could be strengthened, because I think there's a generation growing up without having seen skinny people, without being, and in those days in the past, HIV was in front of us, but now it is kind of
it's among us.
It's among us, but we don't see it because people living with HIV look healthy, like everybody, like you and I, which is a good thing that they look healthy. But I think in the process, sometimes people then forget the disease because it's not visible in front of them. So we are trying to say that we need to keep remembering that people living with HIV are still with us, and also to remember that HIV is still with us, is real as a disease. Yes. Exactly, and so that we can continue to message and we can continue to pay attention and also protect ourselves, use condoms, avoid unprotected sex, abstain, be faithful. The ABCs still work,
now
even though they are a long time ago.
The beauty about this report is it indicates that more people in Uganda now know their status. But doesn't that create a bit of an empire for people? If I know my status, maybe my neighbor has HIV and AIDS, and it doesn't show. There are tablets, there are antiretrovirals. I can survive even beyond 20 years. Don't you think that this, knowing your status, probably to some extent, now that people know it is okay to live with HIV and AIDS, it creates a bit of an empire?
Well, I would hope not. I would hope that people would know their status, and if they are positive, that they would take the drugs, and if they are negative, they would learn how to remain negative and avoid it, because it is a preventable disease. HIV is a preventable disease, and even though treatment is available, I think it's important to also recognize that it's difficult to take treatment every day. Treatment it's just a prevention is better than cure. Put it that way, the way your grandmother would say it.
You're right. Well, thank you so much, Carusa Kirago, for joining us. She is none other than the UNAIDS country director, and the UNAIDS, report 2019, the global UNAIDS 2019 report was released yesterday. But a little bit of, hope for Uganda, maybe what we can appeal to our dear viewers there to go get tested, know their status, and live positively, live a happy life. Being victimized is also something that really hurts people. Yes. But now that we know that you can actually live with HIV and AIDS for a couple of years if you take precautions and treatment. Well, right now that does bring us to the end of News Tonight. My name is Patricia Lukoma, and Mogalo Mohammed has been on sign language. We are going to leave you with Daphne Kabasita with our weather forecast. Stay tuned.
It's a pleasure having you. I'm Daphne Kabasita Nsamba from Uganda National Meteorological Authority, taking you through the weather update. We started the day with cloudy conditions, with some areas having isolated showers, especially the southern part of Uganda, but then in the northern we had sunny intervals. And also in the afternoon, still cloudy conditions in the southern part of Uganda, and then in the northern we had sunny conditions. According to the report that we had, Kampala reported the highest amount of rainfall of 12.9 millimeters. Kasese had 4.5 millimeters, and then Kampala reported the lowest of 1.0 millimeters. The rain belt has slightly shifted southwards. That's why most parts of Uganda, especially the southern part of the country, are having showers, but then in the northern we are left with sunny conditions. Tomorrow we're expecting to start the day with sunny intervals, especially in the northern part of the country, but then in the southern we're expecting isolated showers. Later in the afternoon we're expecting to have sunny intervals in most parts of the country, apart from some few areas in western part of Uganda where we're expecting showers. Temperatures are expected to rise to 30 degrees Celsius in the northeastern part of the country. In the northern Kasese we're expecting temperatures to rise to 29, 28 in the eastern part of Uganda, and around Lake Victoria we're expecting temperatures to rise to 27, like in our capital city. In Kampala, we're expecting temperatures to rise to 23 degrees Celsius. Going beyond Uganda, we're expecting Nairobi and Paris to have showers. Dubai, London and New York, we're expecting sunny conditions, but then it is really cold in London because temperatures are